We're here with Mickey Jannis, prior professional baseball player, now turned pickleball lover. So we'd love to hear about your backstory. Thank you for being on the podcast. It's always exciting to talk to someone who played any sort of sport at a professional level and has now found pickleball and has started to go over to that. So we're really excited to have you on.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah. So what does your career look like as far as baseball was concerned? When did you really pick up the bug for baseball? How did the professional career pan out? We'd love to hear about that for our audience.
Yeah, I pretty much grew up in the sport. My dad was a coach for pretty much any sport you can think of: tennis, baseball, football, basketball, all the way around. So pretty much played all sports growing up, and baseball was always my main sport that I loved playing. But at a very young age, where I felt like I wanted to play professionally, probably like 6 or 7. I remember telling my parents I want to play professional baseball. So um, played tennis through high school and played some basketball in high school. But again, baseball was where I knew I wanted to try to make it to the next level. And then played Division I college at Cal State Bakersfield, and then got drafted out of college by the Tampa Bay Rays. I was a conventional pitcher. For those of people that don't know, a conventional pitcher is someone who pretty much you see every night, someone who throws like a fastball, slider, curveball, that type of pitch. And then I actually got released and then transitioned to throwing a knuckleball, which is a pitch that is unpredictable. And there's probably 5 people in the world that can throw it right now. So I transitioned to that and kept my career going for another 13 years. So I just finished up a 15-year playing career. Bounced around between the Rays, the Mets, and the Orioles, played independent baseball, which is not affiliated with a major league organization, played in Mexico. And in 2021, I got 1 game up in the major leagues with the Baltimore Orioles. So obviously that's the highlight of my career. But yeah, just finished it up, and I played recreationally pickleball in the off season with my family and some friends. But always loved, competing in sports, and not, obviously baseball's number one, but just love playing sports and being active. So pickleball is kind of like the next big thing that we've been getting into, to compete with family and when they're in town, and hopefully eventually getting into some tournaments.
That's awesome. So what does that feel like transitioning from playing a professional sport into playing a recreational sport like pickleball with the family? I'm sure that's a huge transition, and I'm sure you still have that competitive edge that a lot of maybe the lower level rec individuals don't have.
Yeah. Yeah, we're a pretty athletic family, so it doesn't nothing ever gets like heated or anything like that. But yeah, it's been fun. I mean, we get some really good matches going. Um, my mom plays pickleball 4 or 5 times a week. My dad plays pickleball. Father-in-law plays pickleball. Like the whole family's into pickleball. My wife and my mom actually just played in a tournament together, and they took second place. But
That's
some
great.
pretty good competitiveness. We're an athletic family, so it's some pretty good games that we get to be a part of.
How is it mentally making that shift from having it be your career to having it just be your personal passion in terms of sports in general?
Yeah. I mean, I just enjoy competing, so it's still, you know, it's for the love of competition and the game. I enjoy um, watching the games and figuring out new strategy that'll work. And I feel like learning the game more with pickleball. I felt like you know, I think being like a professional athlete, you can kind of you come into pickleball and you're like, oh man, I played professional baseball. Like I can just come into these rec leagues and just overpower these people and have no problem. And then next thing you know, you're like, I'm playing my mom and her partner, and you're down 8-0 before you even blink, and you're like, what just happened? Like, how am I losing to my mom right now in pickleball? But those games, they play 5 days a week, 4 days a week, and they really know strategy and how to, where to place the ball, and just, different strategies that, whereas like somebody like in a professional sport where you're just like, I'm going to overpower everyone. And they're like, it doesn't really work every time, So learning that strategy of the game has been a little bit of an adjustment from when I first started, but it's all a learning curve.
Is that fun to be a student of the game as opposed to a perceived expert in your previous sport?
Yeah. I've always felt like when I played sports, I was always a student of the sport I played. So learning different strategies and being a part of that, and just trying to get better on the mental side too, mental and physical side. So learning the game has been fun, and making some adjustments here and there on the strategies has always been a big part of my game on the baseball side. So just trying to take that into like pickleball as well.
Are there certain aspects of baseball that are helping you with pickleball? And are there certain deficits that you have in pickleball that just don't correlate with baseball that you have to learn now from scratch?
Yeah, I mean, luckily I played tennis throughout high school, so there are some similar movements, and agility wise, um, is pretty similar. Like, I was an infielder as well as just a pitcher um, growing up, so moving that agility, moving side to side, I've always felt like I've been pretty good at. But sometimes at the net, you do feel like the game moves a little fast sometimes. So I feel like that's the adjustment, and just I feel like I'm really strong, like one-sided. So like backhand side has always been a weakness for me, whether it was tennis or pickleball. I feel like that's always kind of like my weakness. So working on that, and recently I've been trying to figure out if I wanted to do a two-handed backhand like I did in tennis, or if I want to just kind of keep it to the one-handed backhand, like I've kind of always done in pickleball. But that's kind of my newest experiment that I've been trying to figure out what I want to do. But haven't been able to practice too much recently, but that's kind of like my next thought process on seeing a lot more. I feel like professional pickleball players use the two-handed backhand. So, yeah.
That's my favorite shot. I come from a tennis background. I played D1 college tennis, and I always had a two-handed backhand. And fortunately, that was able to come over to pickleball. But like you said, at the net, that's an animal all its own in pickleball that I had to learn completely from scratch.
Yeah. And really trying to like set up your shot to like come to the net, because it's not just like hit it back and then charge. It's like, you kind of got to place it right so you know when to come up to the net. And then just not getting in those like ground stroke rallies where it's like back and forth, because it's, it really the games are won at the net with some good placements and stuff. So just learning that side of the game. It's been fun.
It's a chess match up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't kill the ball.
So have you noticed, as far as the two-handed backhand goes, Sarah and I had this discussion. I struggle with a two-handed backhand because it feels like I'm trying to switch hit from like playing baseball since I was a kid. Obviously, I never played professional baseball, but I'd love to, even as an adult, just go into a batting cage and just ripping some balls. But trying to hit a two-handed backhand literally to me feels like I'm trying to switch hit. So that's like been my biggest hurdle to try to overcome, to get away from a one-handed backhand. So have you felt that similar experience?
I feel like my biggest problem with the two-handed backhand has been kind of like, I feel like my reaction time isn't as quick getting to that position and getting my feet in the right spot for a two-handed backhand. So that's been kind of the biggest issue, is I feel like sometimes the game is a little bit too fast for me to get that two-handed backhand reaction when you're just reacting, especially at the net. At the net, I can't do a two-handed backhand. But especially when I'm like, trying to make a shot to charge the net, two-handed backhand just hasn't been been there. I haven't been able to get my feet in the right position for that shot yet. But obviously that just comes with practice and playing. So need to get on the court a little bit more to practice that. And so we'll see if I don't know yet. I still not sold on it yet. So we'll see.
Do you drill in pickleball or do you just play games?
Most of the time it's just play games. That's all the time I have right now. I got 2 little girls at home. So they're taking up most of the time that I have. But, when we have family in town, we're playing 4 to 5 games a day, and they're pretty good games. So the drilling, hopefully I'll be able to do that one day. But probably will come when if I sign up for a tournament, I'll be like, okay, now I need to do some real drills and some practice. So we'll see.
Right. Yeah, it can definitely be hard to start a new shot in a game because you still want to win the game. It's hard
Yeah.
to try and use the one that you know isn't your best one. How
Yeah,
old are your
absolutely.
daughters?
I have a 1.5 and a 5.5-year-old.
Oh, wow. Is the 5.5-year-old into sports yet?
Yeah, we just she's been doing tennis for about a year. She does swimming, gymnastics, and then she just finished up her first t-ball season. So she seems to be enjoying them all. So that's good.
That's awesome. So how does off-court training look like for a professional baseball player, and how have you been able to utilize that mindset and bring it over past your professional career and then into like mixing pickleball into that?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much every day baseball wise. Like when I was training during the off season, you're pretty much going to the gym every day, whether it's to lift weights or to do some mobility stuff. Now it's not. Now I feel like the training has just changed a little bit in terms. I don't have like baseball specific workouts that I'm doing. So I'm still like trying to stay in the weight room, lift weights, do some cardio stuff. Um, a lot of those mobility days, I had some agility drills that we would do even during the season. There's a lot of stuff that we would try to incorporate um, as far as our training to make it a little bit fun, like agility stuff, some competitions. But I mean, a lot of it's pretty much the same. Like I said, I'd like to get on the court more and do some like agility stuff and practice drills. That you don't really do in baseball. Baseball is pretty much throwing, get your throwing in and then hit the weight room and then you're pretty much done. Whereas like, you can only throw so much in baseball, whereas in pickleball or, you can go out and hit on a ball machine or, do drills like all day long if you wanted to realistically. But so you're pretty much limited baseball wise on the throwing aspect. So you got to spend a lot of time with mobility and lifting weights. But there's a lot of similarities like that I'd still like to carry on. I feel like pickleball, you're going to do, like I like to do more like agility training, doing almost like ladder drills and stuff like that. But a lot of similarities, just not as, specific to your sport.
And have you found that it's harder to get to the gym now that you're not like I'm obviously playing professionally, that is a given, like you have to be in there all the time. So now that is over, winding down, do you feel like it has been ingrained in you now where that's just something that has become part of your life, or mentally has it been a shift where you have to really prioritize that?
No, I feel like it's part of our family's lifestyle now. So I don't really have an issue like getting into the gym. There are there are some days when it gets kind of busy where you might miss it 1 or 2 days in a row. But, outside of 1 or 2 days, like we're usually in the gym, working out, either together or, when we have time. But it's part of our lifestyle. So we enjoy going to the gym and working out. Definitely, like I said, just a little bit different workouts. Like I just don't have the on-field workouts for baseball anymore. So that aspect is like pretty much completely gone. And that's something that like to take it to like the pickleball court. So like sometimes on like our lunch break at work, me and my wife will go over to the pickleball court and just hit the ball around for 30 minutes or so, play a game or two of singles, and then that's kind of our lunch break, to get a workout in. So it's just a little bit different, but definitely still prioritize going to the gym, 5-6 days a week.
That's so important that it's basically the culture of your family, so that you don't feel like you have to slip away and take care of that aspect of your life, but it's something that you can both do together and then raise your daughters that way as well.
Yeah. Everything. We have a health club here that we pretty much do everything at. So my daughter's swim lessons, tennis lessons are there. My wife actually used to be a fitness director at a health club, so she used to manage all the personal trainers. So that's kind of in her lifestyle too. So we enjoy doing all that together.
That's amazing.
And how does nutrition look like now? Again, coming off of that professional playing a sport professionally, now it's maybe not like the forefront of the thought process, but what does that look like?
Yeah, same thing. It's something we try to prioritize as a good, healthy diet. So it really hasn't changed too much. We've always tried to stay away from like fast foods and things like that, but obviously life sometimes happens, so you gotta eat when you can. But it's always been a priority to try to eat as healthy as we can, and sticking with that moving forward, even though I'm not playing anymore. Sometimes I feel like I have more time to eat healthier now that I'm not on the road and traveling and stuff. So that's been good, but it hasn't been too much of a change nutrition wise.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear that you're able to just continue on to, what you're doing. From my perspective, I would assume that it would be a lot harder to make that adjustment if it's not mandated all the time. And I think a lot of other people would probably feel the same way. And I mean, that's why Sarah and I both love pickleball, though, is because it is such a broad sport, and it's so easy for so many individuals to get into that, don't have that professional athletic background, or maybe they gave up playing sports a decade or so ago, and it's a nice catalyst for them to jump back into a lifestyle that is much healthier than they were in before. And then when they start to see those gains from, maybe losing 10, 15 pounds just from being out, having fun, hitting a ball around, we've seen some people who it really sparks that enthusiasm again for getting into better and better and better shape, which is amazing to see.
Right, and that overall health aspect off the court, like paying attention to what they're eating or working out outside of pickleball as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So is there any, playing some tournaments or wanting to play some tournaments? Is there anything that you really have on the docket, though, as far as like your next steps in life when it comes to sports, or is it just strictly recreational now and you're just really enjoying time with family?
Yeah, right now just strictly recreational and enjoying time with family. But we definitely, I can't remember if I mentioned it, but my wife played in a tournament with my mom actually a couple weeks ago, and ever since then we've been kind of like just following along to see like what kind of tournaments are in the area and seeing the dates, and if we ever have like kind of an opening on that weekend or whatever day it might be, like we'll probably try and sign up if we can. So it's recreational right now, but kind of keeping our eye on tournaments, on what might open up here in the future, and hopefully get out on the court and play in a tournament, probably mixed doubles. We're probably about a 3.5 to 4.0 level on that. So, but again, it's not really experience wise. It's just probably from, being previous athletes. My wife was a tennis player, so she's pretty athletic. And then myself too. So we don't really have rankings yet. So we're probably 3.5 to 4.0, but we're paying attention to tournaments in the area and seeing if one works out for us. We'll probably join up and try and play.
That's great. Now, you mentioned that you and your wife also play singles together.
Yeah.
So do you have a preference for doubles or singles, or do you love both?
Not really. I mean, she probably prefers doubles, but I'm kind of open for either one. I've never really played anyone else at singles, so I don't really know too much of the strategy for that. I've watched some on TV, and and some highlights that way. But I'd be open to playing singles or doubles. But I say that now, and then if you have to play 4 or 5 matches of singles, it's probably a little different story. So we'll see.
It's such an amazing workout. John and I play singles together. We just started playing singles regularly about 6 months ago, and now we think of it as part of our training for anything that we're doing. So it's such an intense workout. We
Yeah.
go for everything. No ball goes unattempted for, and
Yeah.
we just have a blast, and it's a great workout.
It's like sprint intervals for a half an hour.
It's absolutely that.
And we'll play doubles for like 2 to 3 hours, and then play 2 hours of singles. And by the time you're done with that, you're
toast.
Yeah, you're done. You're done for sure. Yeah, but no, I mean it's such an amazing sport, and it's just we've been so lucky to interview so many people who we've seen how it completely changed their lives, or it's worked as a transition period in their lives. And it's like I said, it's a great catalyst to get people back out and moving from all ages, all demographics, all backgrounds. And like I said, we've seen a lot of people who get back into it. They start to lose some weight, and then next thing you know, they're in the gym. They're starting to lift again. They're starting to take cardio more seriously, and I mean, you can't really ask for anything else from a sport at that point.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and it brings families together. And like you said, your wife playing with your mother. I mean, that's amazing. The 2 generations. And John got started playing with his mom last night. John and I, in the lessons that we teach regularly, we had a 10-year-old with her 80-year-old grandfather, and they were just having a blast out there learning this new sport that they can do together. So that's an amazing aspect of the sport. It's just bringing everyone together.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we liked. We used to play tennis together, but tennis, sometimes you really have to know the sport to be able to like compete. You can't just like walk out on the court and kind of dink it back and forth to each other. So I think that's another, like you said, a cool aspect of pickleball, where it's like I can take my 5-year-old out on the court and you can kind of dink the ball with her a little bit. Whereas tennis, it's a little bit more difficult for somebody who hasn't picked up a racket before.
Absolutely. And what I found when I was a beginner tennis player, it just wasn't fun. You can't even get a rally as a beginner tennis player. Whereas as a beginner pickleball player, you can have a rally on day one, and it might not be the prettiest strokes, but you're still out there laughing and having fun, and the ball is going back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this episode. We really appreciate it. And it's awesome to be able to speak to somebody who played any sport at such a high level as you did, and to hear how pickleball has really started to integrate into their lives. So it's great to hear.
Yeah. Thanks again for having me, and hopefully look forward to, playing a tournament soon and, getting that competitive edge going still.
That's great. Well, thanks, Mickey. It was so wonderful to chat with you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.